I got an email the other day from someone who was able to bring a lot of things into her life. A free car, a free laptop, a higher paying job. But after 2 years, she lost these things. And her story is not the only story like this. How many times have you changed your life? Things were going so well, and then it all fell apart. In today's video, I'm going to use the laws of the universe to show you why this happens and how to make sure it doesn't happen to you again. Self-sabotage, bad luck, misalignment, we're solving all of that today. Why should you listen to me? Well, I've gone from rock bottom, broke, sleeping on a basement floor to a top 1% earner. I went from sick to fit, from overlooked to having influence amongst high caliber people, and now I help other people earn more money and become who they know they can be. So I'm going to bring you through a 3-part framework to make sure reality stops robbing your success away. And this isn't what you've heard before. I'm not going to tell you to think more positively or to meditate more or any of that other stuff that you've heard. This is about how your mind works and therefore how your reality works. So let's get into it. Firstly, handy dandy diagram of how the universe operates. I've drawn it out first to save some time today. But we live in 3 planes: spiritual, mental, and physical plane. The peak of the spiritual plane is the all God, Allah, Brahman, Big Bang, whatever you believe, whatever you consider the initial creation spark of the universe, because it does come from something. So why does this whole phenomena occur where you're able to bring great things into your life and then you lose it all, or something happens and everything just goes back to what it was or worse? Well, this is due to something I call amygdala-based manifestation. Now, a lot of people have found my channel due to the manifestation niche, and I consider manifestation in a very practical sense. Taking something from imagination or theory into physical reality, something from your mind into physical reality. So a simple example would be if I asked you to draw a stick figure, you would think of the stick figure in your mind, and then you would draw the stick figure. That's manifestation. Now, it's different when you're thinking of earning more money, for instance. You're thinking of earning more money, but you need a plan, strategy, execution, etc. to make that happen, to actually make sure you manifest that into reality. I'm not leaving it up to luck. I'm not leaving it up to some extra form of magic that you got to rely on. I want you to have practical steps to make that happen in your life, to actually manifest that in your life. But the reason why people are able to import things into their life a lot of the times is through amygdala-based manifestation. So what is the amygdala? The amygdala is an old part of the brain. There's actually 2 of them deep within your brain, deep within the temporal lobe, I believe it is, close to the hippocampus. The hippocampus is responsible for memory. So your amygdala is very close to the part of your brain that remembers things. The amygdala is a survival mechanism. It deals in polarized states, predator and prey, not wanting to get eaten, wanting to eat something. It deals in fear and fantasy. Oh, I want to avoid this. I want to get this. Shame and pride. This is bad for me. This hurts my survival because I'm shamed and people won't be around me. Oh, I am proud of myself and people want to be around me and look at my accomplishments. I'm so fantastic. Sadness and happiness. This is expectations I have in myself that I haven't met. This is expectations I had in myself that I did meet. These are polarized states. Now, why does this work, right? Why does this form of manifestation work? Because of the law of polarity, which is the 4th hermetic law of the universe. In the mind, you deem things and judge things as positive and negative. You judge events as positive and negative. There are no positive and negative events. There are just events that you attribute a charge to, that you have a perception about. All right? Now, this works because your subconscious dictates your reality. I'm going to tell you why this relates to charge. And I spoke about this a bit in my 1% video, this amygdala-based manifestation concept. So your subconscious, okay, is actually a store of what you call valency. Spoke about this in my subconscious video. It's a store of valency. Valency is simply a charged state. Negative and positive, things that you deem as bad, things that you deem as good, things that you deem as drawbacks, things that you deem as benefits, particularly from your past. Remember, the amygdala is close to the hippocampus, which is memory. This is why your subconscious is built from your past. This is why people say, oh, I have subconscious problems or subconscious programming, usually from your childhood, okay? Where you deem things as problematic or good. Way back in your past. And your amygdala kept that and stored that and said, okay, this is good and this is bad. So that's your subconscious. It's simply a store of valency. It's not this strange amorphic thing that is like impossible to understand and just shrouded in darkness and mystery. It's literally a store of charges. Why does your subconscious dictate your reality? Because your subconscious is going to determine your decisions. Your subconscious determines your decisions because you will not make a decision, you will not make a choice without seeing less drawbacks and more benefits. Okay? Nobody makes a choice without seeing more benefits than drawbacks. Even if you're in a crazy situation, I use this example a lot. If somebody comes up to you at gunpoint and says, give me all of your money or I'm going to end your life, you are likely to part with your money because there's more benefits in your mind, the amygdala, to not become prey, okay? To not be eaten by a predator, right? To not get eaten by a predator. There's more benefits in your mind to part with your money than to lose your life. So no one makes a decision without seeing more benefits and drawbacks. Now, this is why your subconscious dictates your reality, because it determines your decisions. As long as you see more benefits, you will make the decision. Therefore, your emotional charge in one particular way or another, if you're having all this positive thought towards a particular situation, it's going to change your decisions. It's also going to change what you see in the world. It's going to affect your reticular activation system, which is what you see out in the world. So you're going to see certain opportunities that allow you to get what you want. Now, this sounds all great. This sounds good. This is a widely spread manifestation teaching, emotional charge-based manifestation teaching, amygdala-based manifestation teaching. This is like Neville Goddard, for sure. His teaching is based upon that. Probably Rhonda Burns too. A lot of manifestation teachers, they're particularly about positive thought, fantasy thought. Here's a problem. Why does this go wrong? This is why you lose the stuff that you bring into your life. Why does this go wrong? This is something one of my mentors, Lewis Mocker, calls the cosmic pendulum, okay? Think that there is a pendulum in your mind that swings between negative and positive states. It oscillates, right? Like a frequency, okay? Frequency, vibration, the spiritual plane vibrates the fastest, the physical plane vibrates the slowest. You oscillate between these states, these positive states and these negative states. There is a rhythm that goes back and forth. The Kabbalion says, the pendulum swing to the right is the pendulum swing to the left. Same measurement. So this means that if you brought something into your life through fantasy, when the pendulum swing moves to the other side, you're gonna have a lot of fear. Okay? And if you brought something into your life through fantasy, you're going to be very afraid to lose it. You're gonna be very afraid to lose it. And the universe has a compensating vector to put you into homeostasis and to give you a measured mind. It's always aiming to give you a measured mind so you are more like the all. If you notice, the all, God, Allah, Brahman, Big Bang, is actually a synthesis of all things. It is a synthesis of the negative and the positive. So the universe, God, Allah, Big Bang, Brahman, whatever you believe, is aiming to bring you into a state of homeostasis So it will balance you out. Whatever you got from fantasy, you're going to have a level of fear about. When the pendulum swings back, you will likely lose what you got out of fantasy. This is why, let's say you get into a relationship with someone and you're highly infatuated with them, super, super infatuated with them, which is an amygdala-based response, okay? The average is about 24 months. 2 years pass, you start to actually see the person for who they are. The charges around them, the fantasies and pride and happiness around them start to fade, and you start to actually see who they are. And when you actually see who they are, you can make an objective decision about what you're actually doing. Okay? So you end up losing what you have because of polarity. Whatever you got from a polarized state, you can lose from a polarized state. This is why you cannot allow your emotions to make decisions for you. And most people will tell you different, especially in the manifestation space, because they want you to feel good all the time. And I need you to understand something. Feeling good all the time is a fantasy state. All right? It is a polarized state. And whatever you are, whatever polarity you are on, the other side is coming. The other side's coming. Okay? So if you're incredibly excited about something and incredibly emotionally elated about something, when something bad happens, it's going to rock your life. It's going to throw you off your path. And you're going to wonder, yo, how did this happen? Everything was going so good. Because you're not understanding the homeostatic vector of the universe to get you into authenticity and to get you synthesized. So a lot of people think I'm telling people to have no emotions. No, you're going to have emotions regardless. At the end of the day, you have an amygdala. You're going to have emotions. All I'm saying is that make decisions despite how you feel. Now, how do you do this? And how do we solve this problem? Because you've been told to live here. Strictly positive thought. I'm not telling you to live in strictly negative thought either, okay? People are depressed, all right? People are depressed and constantly in this state. If you watch my survival mode video, I'll tell you a lot more about this. But people are depressed, not necessarily because bad things are happening in their life. They're depressed because they're obsessed with positive thought. And they have an expectation of what their life should be. They have a fantasy of what their life should be, and they are addicted to the fantasy of what their life should be. So the universe creates a homeostatic vector of depression to try to get you to stop living in a fantasy state all the time. That's where depression originates from. You are not seeing the negatives in the positives and the positives in the negatives. Now, this is the main process I bring my clients through. I bring them through what I would call a charge clearing process. Because what happens when you combine let's talk about an atom, for instance, right? When you combine a positively charged positron and a negatively charged electron, when you slam them together, they create gamma rays, which is light. When you can see the positive and the negative together, you become more enlightened and you increase your awareness, which is increasing your frequency. When you get out of a polarized state from your amygdala-based manifestation, and it's very appealing. Let me tell you something about amygdala-based manifestation. It's very appealing because it appeals to your feelings. And the masses are governed by feelings. So as long as you can get people to feel good, it will become incredibly popular. You understand? It will become incredibly popular. I don't know if what I teach is like holding me back from being more popular. I don't think so. I think I'm just on my path to grow and how I grow. But if I was selling people a fantasy, it'd be a totally different story. This is how scammers get by. They sell you a fantasy, right? A scammer gets by selling you a fantasy, and then you realize it's a scam, and you move over to this side, shame and sadness and whatnot. It's just the universe trying to bring you in a balance. Sorry, went off on a little tangent. But basically, when you get these balanced out, right, which is a process. And if you want help with that, I can help you. Links in the description below. You become more enlightened. You become more like the all. God, Allah, Brahman, Big Bang, who can import what they want into reality. When you cancel out your charges, you activate the prefrontal cortex, PFC. Prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain right behind your forehead. And this is known as the CEO of the mind. Okay, CEO. All right, it's the CEO of the mind. What does a CEO do? What is a CEO paid for? Why is the CEO like the highest paid person in the company? Because of their decision-making ability. Okay, when you activate the prefrontal cortex, you make decisions. All right, you are objective. You strategize. You mitigate risk. You create contingencies for if things go wrong. Okay, so let's say you got a new job, right? And you're making a lot more money. And then you get into an amygdala-based swung up state where you're like, oh man, life is so awesome. I'm making so much more money. And I understand this because I've been there. I have done exactly what I'm about to tell you. I went from being totally broke, sleeping on a basement floor, tons of debt, to making significant amounts of money. And what did that do? It put me into a fantasy state. So what I do, start paying for $16,000 dinner, start buying new suits, start traveling everywhere, start doing all kind of stuff, buying all sorts of things, burning through my paper, right? Then what happens? You're broke. You're like, oh shoot, I'm making all this money, but I've inflated my lifestyle because I was in a fantasy state. So you end up losing what you got from fantasy. Now, if I was less in my amygdala and activated my prefrontal cortex at that time, then I'd make different decisions. I'd make more objective decisions and strategize based upon what I value. So your values are here. Values are very important. If you don't know your values, get my free value finder tool, because all of this works, the prefrontal cortex works based upon your values. When you live within your values, you automatically activate the prefrontal cortex. When you live within your values and what you actually care about, you do this charge cancellation process a lot easier, a lot simpler. So you have to know what it is you care about, and that's what my value finder tool is about. But when you bring things into your reality this way, you tend to not lose them. You also tend to not get rocked and destroyed and your life completely messed up when quote unquote bad things happen. So for instance, in March, I think it was, in March, one of my businesses did 50% less revenue, right? 50% less. So imagine you made half the money that you normally make. That would be a problem for most people. But since I understand now, luckily, the way of the universe, I was not rocked up by it. Because the more you get rocked up by it and the more you get put into this side, you activate the reticular activation system to find more problems, to find more things to find problematic. And your perceptions get all messed up and you think that everything is going to stay like this forever and your life is falling apart. If you were measured in mind and used the prefrontal cortex and made decisions to save money, put money away, invest money, etc., you'd be totally fine. And I was totally fine. And my business went back up the next 2 months. Boom. So the whole key to this, to not lose what you got and not have reality, okay, this is reality, right down here, physical reality. To not have reality steal away the things that you've been able to import into your life, you need to cancel out these polarized states. And I know everybody told you to have maximum levels of positive thought and always be positive and always be this, blah, 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 blah. It's a perfect way to mess up your life because the other swing is depression. What you also need to understand is that when you cancel out charges, you turn the subconscious conscious, right? Because the subconscious, most of the time, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know. You're just making decisions. You're just doing stuff. You don't know. When you take, let's say, a negative situation like a breakup and realize why it was good for you and you become grateful, grateful. Then you make the subconscious conscious. And when you make the subconscious conscious, you can make different decisions. This is what therapy tries to do, right? Therapy tries to look in your past and look at certain things that have happened to you and make you aware of them so that you can make decisions. The problem is, what I find with a lot of therapy is that they make you aware, but then they don't tell you what to do with that. Right? They don't tell you what to do with that. It's like, you know why something happened, but it doesn't necessarily matter if you don't know how to move forward towards your values, towards your purpose, your mission, and your vision without it. So basically, if you want to make sure that when things are going right and then they suddenly go left, that you don't lose everything you have and you don't get totally rocked by reality, then you need to cancel out your amygdala-based charges. You need to stop living in a fantasy state or a fear state. You can watch my survival mode video to help you out with that. You need to stop living in this state, all right? Deal with your valency so your decisions change based on the prefrontal cortex. Cancel out your charges. I can help you with it. And boom, activate the CEO of the mind. Right now, you are trying to manifest with a carrier pigeon. You are speaking to the universe with a carrier pigeon when you have an iPhone. And with that being said, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.